Fine and frosty overnight with a low of -2 Celsius. That's a freezing 28 degrees Fahrenheit. It's Pearl Harbor weather, folks. There's a nasty nip in the air. Later today, dry with sunny periods with a small chance of the odd shower, with a cold wind and a high of 9 Celsius, 48 degrees Fahrenheit. The outlook for the weekend, dry with sunny periods and a frost at night. The air quality is very, very good, and the temperature now is freezing point.
Beacon Radio.
Tell me about it. It's freezing. Okie dokie, me old culture lovers. It's the Midnight Line on Beacon and WABC. It's a free-for-all for a Friday morning, so you can talk about anything you want to talk about. 754 123 in Wolverhampton, 236 235 in Shrewsbury. Those are the numbers to dial. The quicker you can get your calls in, the quicker we can get you on air. That's the way it works, and that way we don't have to rush through you during the last 5 minutes of the show, which lasts, the phone show anyway, lasts till round about 2 o'clock with any luck and a following wind. It is a free-for-all. You can talk about anything you want to talk about. Now, what's been going on in the world? Well, last night we talked about date rape, whether or not such a thing actually existed, or whether or not it was just a media invention, whether or not it described a meaningful category of rape, and whether or not that category of rape could be distinguished from common rape. And the conclusion that was by and large sort of agreed on was that it is a media invention. So there you have it. In the past 36 hours, another policeman has been shot dead. This time it is believed to be the work of drug gangs. Now, you could argue that we already have an armed police force, in that we have these special response unity things, which are little wagons crammed full of policemen and crammed full of policemen's guns. Now, they are a fast response unit, but you could argue that a fast response unit can't be everywhere at once. Maybe it's time to arm the British Bobby, because he seems to be the only member of the European community. We seem to be the only member of the European community that don't arm the policemen. Everywhere else you go, they're armed. Or everywhere else I seem to have been, they're armed. Can't think of one place that they haven't. Not around Europe. Which coincides quite neatly with a book I've just finished called a beautiful piece of reading. I actually bought it for my girlfriend for her birthday as one of her presents, both reasonably macabre. And I finished it, and it's basically 300 years of British hangmen. Fascinating book. All about right the way back to the good old days of the hanging tree at Tyburn, where they just used to sort of strangle people to death. It sort of traces it right the way through the ages. Up until, I think it was Ellis. Was it Ellis? Hangman Ellis? He was the guy who invented the drop, which broke your neck. And right the way through till Pierpoint. What was quite interesting is the guy who wrote the book. I don't know why he wrote it, actually, because he's totally anti-hanging. But anyway, he wrote it. And what was interesting is that every time a policeman is shot on duty, there are renewed calls to bring back the death sentence. Now, what the author of this book said, and if he's correct in how he's interpreted the thoughts and feelings of ex-hangmen, they all say the same thing. It doesn't do anything apart from legitimise killing. It makes the state the legitimate murderer of a human being. Is that right? Is that right? What does it achieve? I mean, if you don't arm the policeman, then maybe you have to have a deterrent. Does hanging act as a deterrent? Hangmen, you would have thought they were the people to know. They say it doesn't. They say it makes no effect. Albert Pierpoint said it had no effect whatsoever on preventing another murder. And one of the arguments towards the end of the book is that when we used to publicly strangle people in Tyburn, then that didn't actually stop. It didn't stop murders. It didn't stop robberies. I mean, one hangman actually ended up getting hanged himself. So, I mean, if it doesn't act as a deterrent to the hangman, who the heck is it going to act as a deterrent to? Anyway, you may want to talk about that, but it is a free-for-all, so you can talk about anything you want to talk about. 754 123 in Wolverhampton. 236 235 in Shrewsbury. First of all, I've got a note. It says, you mentioned Morrissey in concert last night. I did not. And Mrs. Mills has called a couple of times. She's under the impression we're broadcasting the concert. Is there any info? Yeah, we're not. That's simple. I didn't mention Morrissey, nothing to do with me. I didn't say a word about the blessed Morrissey. Not me. Phew, got the wrong person there. Also, another note. Dear Ian, please say hello to Louise Savage for us. We're going to tell her the state of your pigeonhole. She'd feel at home, her bedroom looks the same. Signed, her mum. So good morning, Louise Savage. There you go, that's from your mum, who's obviously visited the studios. Yes, I can explain why my pigeonhole's such a tip. It's because I get an Arts Council grant for it, that's why. So it has to remain a tip. Samantha Miller, she lives in Castlebridge Road. She says, Dear Ian, I'm writing this letter to let you know how much I enjoy listening to your Midnight Line. I haven't yet heard one show that I didn't enjoy. Tonight could be the night. However, my favourite one is, up to yet, is the one you did with John Starkey. I've been considering going to see a clairvoyant for a long time, and I'm now more determined than ever. When I got in from work last night, I was disappointed to find my radio wouldn't tune into Beacon. It made me realise how much I take my radio for granted. Ah, that's nice. I haven't yet managed to pluck up the courage to phone in, but I'm working on it. And I'm determined to speak to you before I go away. Where are you going? Oh, back to the, the white coats and the... Yeah, right, okay. Now that you've got some more photos, could you please send me one so that if the army finally accepts me, I'll have something to remind me of what I'm missing. Bye for now, Sam. So you're joining Her Majesty's Armed Forces. What a fine career. What a fine career that is. Now, this is dead good, this. We're going to close this on Friday, and we'll judge it over the weekend. It's the Guess What My Boss Looks Like competition. And this entry is from Chris Hathaway, I think, in Rock Hill. He says, Dear Ian, here's my entry for What Ian's Boss Looks Like competition. It's called Ian's Dream Boss. Now, I'm not sure what the boss's wife will think. And it's a beautiful blonde woman in a seductive black dress, standing next to a ZZ Top type car. Difficult to say that unless you've rehearsed it. And a sort of cafe racer motorcycle. Yes, sirree. Rock and roll. All right, thanks for that. Also, could you answer a question that I was asked the other night? Why is the captain called the captain? I mean, Eric was presumably called Eric. Dave is, well, mad. And Jammo the parrot, because he's a parrot and he's called Jammo. Right, still, is the captain A, the owner of a large boat, B, a real captain, or C, a captain in the sense that Colonial Gaddafi, or Colonial Gaddafi as you've got here, is a colonel? Well, can you clear this mystery up? Yes, Chris, I can. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, indeed. He's called the captain because before, years ago, before he appeared on Beacon and looked after, and WABC, and looked after pensioners, long ago in the mists of time and all that, he used to work on a cruise ship as a... Well, I don't quite know what he did, but anyway, he worked on a cruise ship. Sort of serving drinks. Bartender, that was it. He was a bartender on a cruise ship. And hence the nickname stuck with him, the captain. See? It's all very simple once it's explained. Finally, Colbeck Croft is the home of Elaine Whittle, and she says, Dear Ian, I thought I'd address you in a respectable manner, as I'm after something. Well, there's honesty for you. I'm a final year student at the University of Central England, that's Birmingham Poly to you and I, studying graphic design. For my art history syllabus this term, my subject is Contemporary Britain. I have to present a 45-minute seminar on the 12th of November on the subject of racism. This is where you come in. I listened to your programme recently when the man from the Commission for Racial Equality was in the station, but unfortunately this was before I knew of my seminar. I was wondering if you could possibly be able to send me a tape recording of the programme. Well, actually, it doesn't exist. We don't tape them. Well, we do, but the quality on it, and you wouldn't be able to pick much out. Or possibly ask the gentleman concerned to send me some literature. Yes, I can do that. If you're unable to do this, could you possibly have another midnight line on the subject? Okay, fair enough. I'd particularly like to hear from people who've been the victims of racism in our society. There you go. We can help you out right now, Elaine. So, there we go. Elaine is looking for people who believe that they've been the victims of racism within society. She wants to hear your experiences. I listen to the show every evening, but must admit to falling asleep quite regularly. Oh dear, oh dear. Okay, well, so if you can help Elaine, if you've been the victim of racism within this society, or indeed other societies, I suppose, then give us a call. 754-123 in Wolverhampton, T36-T35 in Shrewsbury. I'd quite like a photo, she says, when you finally get them, out of curiosity to see you, if you look like what your voice sounds like. No. Well, I don't know. It's strange that, because everybody has a has an idea about what you're meant to sound like, or meant to look like from your voice, and you never quite match it. Right, now...
I was wearing